That could be me sometimes.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. I think that all these tests get a bad rap.
Well, that explains so much. Good thing we're learning about each other.
And I think that it could be helpful in exploring who you are.
That's why we're building our relationship.
Right.
This is Sistas Declassified, the podcast where
Taylor
and Taryn,
your virtual sisters, share experiences, insights, and of course the juicy secrets that never leave the sister circle.
from navigating the millennial rat race to untangling the complexities of relationships.
We've got you, sis.
So shh, listen up. The Declassified combos are starting now.
What you have?
Oh, sorry. Are you looking at me to start again?
Oh.
Hi guys. Welcome back.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us today on Sistas Declassified.
How was your day today, sis?
So far, I haven't done too much. It took me a long time to get out of bed. I was reading my book. You know, I can just sit and read, and then I'm like 5 more minutes, and then I look up and it's been... Actually, it'll be like 3 more minutes, and I'll look up and I'm like, okay, 2 more minutes. And then I'm like, nah, I need to add some more minutes because in 2 minutes I'm not going to want to get up. And so, yeah. Long story short, I told myself I was getting up today at 9:30, then 10, then 10:42, then you get the idea.
Okay, so a bit of a slow morning for you, or maybe a little bit of a rush at the end. But you were prepared.
It was slow,
you were ready.
But I think it's the Libra in me. You know, it's the balance. I knew I had to get up and do things today, so I might as well take this time to lay down and read my book because I might not get it again.
I feel it. We had different mornings.
What was your morning?
Well, I like to sleep in, so I did have to set an alarm to make sure I got up, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up with enough time that I could sit for like 30 minutes, so I could be awake but not have to do anything for 30 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I made a list of all the things I needed to pack to get ready for the podcast today, and then once I took the 10 minutes to make the list, I then went through each one and checked them off one by one.
Real Virgo style, huh?
Yes, very Virgo of me. But it's because the last time we got together, I was not prepared and I didn't like how it felt. So I had to make sure. And I was closer to on time today.
You got here before me. So,
yeah.
And that says a lot. And you know what? I ended up not coming. Maybe that's the balance for me. I ended up deciding to go to Starbucks because I knew she was going to be late and it was going to get on my nerves. So then I went to Starbucks and I was like, great. But then, you know what happened? I dropped my Starbucks outside.
Tragic.
The whole thing. Outside after I already left Starbucks, so I couldn't even get a new one.
R.I.P.
But yeah, so don't mind my laptop here, by the way. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's here. That's what I'm looking at when I'm looking down. It's helping me for our episode today. It's kind of going to guide us, and we're kind of talking about our Zodiacs because we've been trying to think about the different personalities that we have and how we got here. And people are super big into Zodiacs and asking, what's your sign or what's your big 3 or blah, blah, blah.
Big 3? You got multiple?
Oh, my Lord. Your sun, moon, rising? No? All right. Well, if you want to know mine, should we share? My sun, I'm a Libra. My rising, I'm a Pisces. And I'm a Scorpio moon. And I guess my sister doesn't know herself.
I don't. I just know I'm a Virgo. A Virgo who's late. Which I feel like is not what they tell me is supposed to be true. But it is. But I think it's because I also make choices. I'm outing myself. I'm never late because I didn't have enough time. I'm usually late because I made choices that I knew would make me late.
Sure, but there's probably something in there that is the reason for that. So don't mind me looking down because I'm about to look up what her big 3 are. But we kind of came on here today to kind of talk about different ways that we could figure out our personalities because it's a big interest, I guess. It was a big interest back in the day, I guess, to take those personality tests and figure out who you are and who you would click with.
I still take them. I enjoy them. I just haven't done the astrology tests. I never really got into.
Because when we talked about in our first episode was who believes in supernatural and things like that, which I guess this isn't necessarily supernatural. It's ultimately science more than anything. But I guess there's still a belief system that people have a hard time understanding, even though there's science to it. but they call it pseudoscience, which I don't know if that's necessarily true.
It's because it gives a little woo-woo. It gives a little...
But it's like, if you think about us as people who are made up of, 70% water, and the planet is made up of however much water, I don't know, let me not pretend like I'm a scientist.
It's about the same percentage.
Yeah, and if the moon can move the ocean, like, how do you not think that
the moon could affect your body?
Yeah.
I am very much open to it.
I'm not saying that you think that, but it's just like, how can you call something pseudoscience and not believe that it has any impact on you? We're just this little blip in the universe.
Right. We definitely can't say we know it all. I don't think anyone should be able to sit firmly and feel like they have the universe figured out.
Because if they do,
they're lying.
What time did we say you were born?
7:21.
7 something according to Dad. And Mom, don't get upset. I called you. You didn't answer.
Bloop.
Just kidding. But anyway, it looks like Taryn. Oh, interesting. I
don't like all these sounds you're making.
Oh no. So Virgo sun, Taurus moon, and your rising. Let's see.
What does that mean?
What is your rising?
What is the rising, the moon?
This is the location of the planet.
Oh, okay.
When you were born.
Got it.
And you're Capricorn. Capricorn rising. That.
And what are Capricorns known for? I literally only know about Virgos and Geminis, and that's just because Bashan's one.
Let's see, because I don't like to pretend like I know. I kind of know, but I like to not make stuff up. I have a couple Capricorn friends, but I would say generally I don't like Capricorns.
Well, that explains so much. Good thing we're learning about each other. This is why we're building our relationship.
Right, because, yeah, I don't really vibe with Capricorns. I feel like they exaggerate a lot, and they make their stories out to be more than what actually happened. It really gets on my nerves.
That could be me sometimes.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Okay, so it says here, let's look at positives first.
Okay.
Positives of a Capricorn. They're loyal and witty, patient, reliable, cautious, practical. They can be charming. They're hardworking, strong-willed. That's true. Very strong-willed. Independent, determined, resourceful, blah, blah, blah. Okay?
I'll take those.
We have some negatives. So Capricorns can be cold, anxious, haughty, stubborn, skeptical, ruthless, pessimistic, apprehensive, never satisfied, holds a grudge, condescending, status-seeking, self-absorbed, unmovable, insensitive, egotistic.
Some of those are familiar. Some of those are painful, but we'll move on.
I mean, but that's your rising. So anyway, that's not your main.
Right. It's like I can tap into that.
Yeah, but that could also be where you choose to be late.
Because I don't care that I'm late.
And
is
then
that what it is?
Yeah. You don't care that other people are waiting for you. Which is kind of like Taurus energy.
I'm so conflicted then. That explains my conflict.
Let's see what they say are your Taurus traits. Positive traits. Kind, generous, trustworthy, determined, hardworking, gentle and kind, loyal. He said kind twice. Patient, steadfast, and independent. And some negative traits are that they're jealous, lazy, stubborn, dependent, materialistic, possessive, self-indulgent, gluttonous, selfish, and self-absorbed.
A lot of these kind of overlap and are honestly contradictory in some ways too.
When you think about these,
like when you're at your best, when you're at your worst. Yeah.
Exactly. You have a little bit of all of it.
Well, okay.
So now you know your big three. What are they?
I'm a Virgo.
That's your sun.
Oh, my sun is a Virgo.
Your moon.
My moon is Capricorn. My moon is Taurus. And my rising, my rising is Capricorn.
Yes. Now you got it. So people can ask, and now she knows.
I'll learn something new today.
But we weren't even supposed to get all into that today. Actually, our goals were to do 2 different personality tests that she was into and I was into. And so I actually had her do the human design test. But she's also into Enneagrams, if you want to talk about that first.
Sure. So basically, Enneagram test is like my current favorite. It starts with the belief that there are 9 core personalities, and each one of these personalities has a kind of core belief that drives them. And then there's branched personalities from there. So while your core, like for me, I'm a 1. Those are the perfectionists. My core belief or like emotion that drives me is anger. And as a perfectionist, that's really painful because anger is often viewed as a bad emotion. But when I am really honest with myself, and we talked about this in the last episode, I'm always irritated. It's like related in that way. So I think this is probably the most eye-opening test for me, because I'm also a wing 2. 2s are very caring, loving. They have some abandonment issues. They don't want to be alone, so they use lots of words of affirmation and do kind acts for other people in the hopes that they'll return them to them, which I very much relate to too.
Interesting.
She's like, I don't get any kind acts. What are you talking about?
That's not true. Actually, that's not true. I think that you do kind acts, but I guess now I'm like, is the intention that you're doing kind acts so that you can get a kind act back?
No, it's so that you can reciprocate what you hope to receive. Yes, but it's also because you want people to love you, but you want to do loving acts so that the love you feel between people is genuine, if that makes sense. Like, because you want people to do those things for you, you do them for others in the hopes that it will, elevate everybody to do kind things for one another. But
so do you feel like doing this test was helpful to you?
Definitely, especially when it comes to like my primary type. And I think overcoming some of the stigma behind being irritable or angry. I don't personally like to describe myself that way. I don't think that I'm an angry person, but I am passionate. I speak passionately. I think all the time, but especially when it's something I really care about. What was more fascinating was learning how other people perceive me, and then things I could do to not manipulate, but like not in a negative way, but just to come across differently if that's how people really see me. Like, I'm really critical, and especially at work, this can be a challenge when you manage people and people think they're the most awful person in the world because they messed up a thing, when really, like, I'm just always irritated, and you've added, and by a mistake, right? By whatever happened, you've now added some extra thing on top of my irritation. And it's like not really your fault, although sometimes it is.
Right. But could you do it differently?
But like, do I need to respond to you in a way that puts my always burning fire onto you? Probably not. So I think it was helpful in learning how other people respond as well, and like learning about all the other types.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I feel like the reason we're bringing this up in the first place is because I think that all these tests get a bad rap, and I think that it could be helpful in exploring who you are. And obviously these are just people making tests. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like it's something like the end all be all after you take these tests that this is what you're stuck with. But I think it's insightful and informative, like she was saying, to understand how people might view you based on how you interact with them, or based on how you answer these questions. And it was helpful for us because when she did it, I used to tell her all the time that she acted just like my mom, and she didn't believe me. And neither my mom didn't believe that she would like fake, like, oh, you're just annoyed for no reason, Taylor. And I'm like, no. So after we did this test, they're exactly the same. And in my test specifically, it says that I would not get along with a 1. And I felt very validated.
After living with 2 1s for your whole life.
Yeah. And it's not, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Yes. And to say that, I guess I could tell you I'm a 3 wing 7. So the achiever and the enthusiast, whatever that really means. I don't really know. We're actually going to share some of the tests on our Instagram page so that you guys can try them out. But I think that it would be really cool if you guys do these Enneagram tests.
You can share a little bit about your type 3 if you want to hear more.
Let's hear.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you your deepest fear and tell me if that's true.
We'll see if it's true.
And then your core motivation.
Okay.
Deepest fear. 3s fear being insignificant or a failure. To cope with this fear, they look for ways to win in life, reassuring themselves that they are valuable. You feel that a little bit, okay?
I'll take it.
It's tapping in.
It's tapping.
Core motivation. Type 3s are motivated by a need for attention and admiration. They strive to be successful and significant to avoid feeling worthless.
I could see that. I think that's true when I'm operating in my lowest self.
Okay. What did you say your other one was? 7?
Wing 7.
The enthusiast. Deepest fear. 7 fears getting stuck in a rut and missing out on the good in life.
FOMO. I have so much FOMO. That's why I got off Instagram.
They cope with this by constantly seeking out exciting and novel and fun experiences. That's true. You're doing pottery and hiking and Pilates.
I love Pilates.
Well, I don't know if Pilates is adventurous, but maybe.
Some would say.
Okay, some would say. Core motivations. More than anything, sevens want to avoid feeling bored, sad, or uninspired.
I could say that's true to an extent, I guess.
Like, I could see how it could relate to the 3 side of, like, wanting to be where the party's at and, like, always feeling like you're in a space with good energy. You're always talking about being in places with people with the right energy. You want the vibe to be right. I think that kind of speaks to this.
I guess so. I'll take it. It's pretty accurate, guys. That's all we're going to have to say. I guess this one's pretty accurate. We'll leave it at that. And then I guess we can look at another one and see how accurate that is for us. So I guess I can guide what I had Taryn do, which was the human design. And this one is also kind of similar to your Zodiac because it's based on when you were born, where you were born, and that kind of stuff. But it's more of a new agey kind of idea. So they merge old science with new science in order to figure out what your human design is. Let's see. And it's kind of like a roadmap. It's aligned with your chakras. So if you know about your chakras, you know your crown, your root, your third eye, all that stuff, then this test will make kind of sense for you. But if you don't really know about this stuff, then maybe jump to the Enneagram test. That'd probably be more helpful for you. But yeah, do you want to share what your human design test was? Your results from it?
I was a 1/3. Is that how I say it?
Mm-hmm.
A 1/3. A 1/3.
She's a generator.
Yes, which means I like to get up and go and get things done. And funny enough, it kind of aligns with what my Enneagram 1 wing 2 is, where it's like, I want things to be perfect. I want things to be right. And I want things to be right for other people too. Like I want to leave things better than I found them.
Also, I think the generator, that the thing that human design wants you to understand is like how to operate in your purpose. And so with this, the generator, they want you to understand that you operate best when you're living out your purpose. So like it said, if it's a hell no, or if it isn't a hell yes, then it's a hell no. So if the thing that you're doing, you like wake up and half of you doesn't want to do it, then you're most likely not operating in your current purpose. And because of that, you're not generating or creating the life that you want, nor are you attracting the people or places that you actually want to be in. So that's what a generator is. And it's interesting because most people in our society are generators.
I'm not special.
It's not that you're not special, but I think generators are the ones who make the world go round, right? Everybody can't be the big thinker, the idea person, or the one who's like, coming up with the big ideas. Some people are the ones that are just doing the work. And doing the work isn't bad if you're operating in your purpose, because that means you'll be fulfilled.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like I do have a lot of ideas, so I'm curious.
But I also think that you do know that you're kind of going against your generator life right now.
Well, yes, because ultimately I probably do my best when I'm executing, but to your point, I don't want to just execute anywhere.
That's correct. Was there anything else that came up for you from your test results? Let me look at them.
It also said that I was emotionally driven or something like that.
Yes. So her authority, or like the way that she makes decisions, is through her solar plexus. So she's more emotional. She does stuff based on how it makes her feel rather than like maybe like through logic or something like that. She's more about feeling.
That's where I think I might push back a little bit. I do think I am emotionally guided in that like a problem may arise because of an emotion that I'm experiencing. But I do think I have a pretty decent handle on my awareness of that. So I am pretty good about taking a moment to go, ooh, I'm feeling away. Why do I feel away? Is it me? Is it them?
But I think that's you just learning yourself. But if you were to be operating in just your human design without having to check yourself, without the self-awareness, you would lean more towards...
Oh, yeah, I'm irritated. I'm mad. You disrespect me. You piss me off.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Accurate.
So that's what this is trying to tell us.
Got it.
And then from there, you learn those skills that you just talked about. So like, is this necessary for me to do this because of my feelings, or should I do something different?
Got it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Also, this one says that you have a split definition where you have 2 distinct different voices inside your head.
It's really a mess in here.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks.
I'm always in conflict.
But yeah, there's more results. We won't get all the way into it just for time, but I encourage people who are more interested in like astrology and things like that, and more, I guess, energy based programs or personality tests, you should try this one out. I guess I could share for myself just real quick that I'm a manifesting generator. So it's similar to generators in that we also operate in our purpose, and we feel more fulfilled when we're doing something that is more of a hell yes than a maybe we want to do that. But then we also have the opportunity to manifest things metaphysically, I guess is the best way to explain it. I hate that I can't explain this well.
I think you're doing great.
I'm also an emotional, operate from my solar plexus, which I would also say is kind of true, but it's in a different way. I operate from my solar plexus too, but it's different in that I think you want people, maybe not want people, that's not the right way to say it, but you're more okay with people knowing that.
I feel vindicated when you feel my emotions.
Yes. Versus me, it's like I'm more of a avoidant. I'm okay with having the emotions, but I'm going to go have them by myself. So I think that's the difference. Like, I don't need you to...
I'm mad, we mad.
Yeah, I don't need people to know, like, you pissed me off, and now, like, here's my vengeance. Hear me roar. Or, like, you hurt my feelings. See me cry. Like, I'm not going to do that.
It's that Enneagram 1, that anger in me. Just let it all out.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel productive for me. For me. I'm not saying it's not. But then my profile, which I actually don't remember what this one was, but I'm a 6'2", so she was a 1'3", and then I'm a 6'2", and that doesn't, I forgot, this doesn't really explain it, but maybe I'll look it up and I'll tell you what 6'2" means in our next episode. Anyway.
We did have one other test for this episode, and this was the leadership compass. This is one that I actually ended up having to do for work, and I thought it was interesting because at least for the last maybe 10 years or so, most of the people I spend the most time with are people at work. Mm-hmm. And so they've come to know me as one way. And when I describe how people describe me at work or how people feel about me at work, my friends and family are often kind of like, weird. Like, not that it's unbelievable that my personality shows up in this way, but it's just interesting to see, like...
What do you mean?
I was going to get there. It's interesting to see how some people perceive me at work versus at home. Okay, so the leadership compass is interesting because the way I function at work kind of aligns with some of these other tests we've taken, like my Enneagram test or my Zodiac, how that's come out.
I think work is where you found out you had to be different.
Yeah, exactly. Work is where I found out I had to be different. And I think it's also where some of the negatives from these other tests, I guess, shown through more. And that makes sense because it's a stressful environment. So you're not always like your best self when you're stressed. And then being a manager, there was moments where you had to have difficult conversations, and being a condescending Taurus, whatever, isn't always the most helpful. So in this test, Taurus moon. So in this test, it's a compass. There are 4 different directions: north, south, east, west. You answer a series of questions, and it basically gives you a direction. So if you're north, usually that means you're more action-oriented. You're not necessarily trying to think through everything, but you're just a go-getter, go. Typically more of an executor. If you're a south, you're usually a little more emotionally driven. You're thinking about how your actions will affect the rest of the team and are constantly thinking about ways to make everybody feel good or happy while you're in the space and doing the work. If you're east, you are visionary. You're not really thinking about the granular details of things, but you always have an idea for some big project or event or plan. You're not necessarily going to be the one to execute it all, but you might be like the high-level project manager idea person. Then the last one is west, which is what I am. This is a person who is very detail-oriented. You need all the information before you act. You want to make sure all the stakeholders have been talked to before a decision is made. You want things to be fair, clear, and concise. And that sort of aligns with some of my perfectionist tendencies and labels in the other tests. Mm-hmm. But one of the main ones is that, like, you have to be in charge. And I don't always feel like I want to be in charge, but I do feel like I want to trust. You said that's cap. I do feel like I need to have trust in the person who is in charge. And I think...
She never does.
No, I think in my personal life, it's a lot easier for me to relinquish control to other people than it is at work.
And in your personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you give control to in your personal life?
I am much more anal at work than I am at home, which I know sounds crazy because you think I'm super anal, but I'm not.
I don't know, not super anal. That's not the right word, but okay.
I much more go with the flow at home than I am at work.
I want to see you at work.
Anyway, what did you get on this one?
I got, which is probably surprising based on how we interact here, but I got South, empathy. You are South, the empathy, and strengths understand how people need to receive information in order to act upon it. Integrates others' input in determining interaction input. They made I'm sorry. Can you see this? There's no punctuation. It's just one long run-on paragraph. Okay. But
start at the top.
Long story short, I'm supportive of my colleagues and I try to make sure that everybody is included and that we are operating in a space where we can convey our points without others being upset, but also in a way that allows them to have action behind whatever I'm sharing. So
Voice and choice.
Yeah, which makes sense based on my occupation. I'm a therapist, but I'm school-based, and so we work as a collective team. And so it could be very easy for me to be like, their mental health is more important, bulldoze over everybody's opinions about academics, but I can't do that because ultimately we're at school and the mental health is actually what isn't the priority, unfortunately. So I have to be more understanding of the way in which I convey what I think. The other last thing it said about the positive attributes is that I'm non-competitive and able to focus on the present moment, more value-oriented to what's right and fair for other people. So that's true. But it says that my weaknesses because of this is that I lose focus on my goals and believe relationships and or the needs of people can be more important. So I compromise. And sometimes that can be at a fault. And also don't know how to say no. That was a big issue in my last year. I just learned how to set some proper boundaries at work because I would be doing things that aren't my job and were other people's job. And then that's me burning out, right? And so basically it says at the end that I can not see the long range view of things. So I'll end up saying yes to something knowing that it's going to take over my next 2 weeks. And I should have said no, right? And I didn't think about the long view. And yeah.
What's interesting to me about this and hearing you talk about that and say that's you at work, that's not you at home. If you don't want to do something, you say no. And that's fascinating. Mm-hmm. And that's why I thought this one was interesting because you can be two different people depending on the context you're in, you know?
I think it's the comfortability though of the people that I'm around. That's why I can say no to you guys and be more whatever. And then
I don't think you have that problem at home.
But that's true. You're right. I don't have that problem at home. And I'm sure nobody would even think that would be a problem that I have at work. But I think maybe, I don't know. I care about the kids a lot. So when I see adults doing stuff that's not really productive to them or they're going to do it wrong or whatever the case may be, they ask me to do it. I'm like, yeah, because who's going to do it? And then... So I guess I don't know if that's still operating from empathy, but I think also I need to let go of the reins a little bit. I think it's a control thing.
I can relate to you in that way because I think that's for me in my West, it's I don't really trust other people to do it. So, because I want it done a certain way. And so I'm going to just do it.
But see, I don't know that I don't trust them to do it. I know that they won't do it. It won't happen.
Sure.
So that's the thing. So it's okay, if it won't happen, then I'll just do it.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Kinda. Yeah.
But it goes back to that core belief.
But
my core belief is I'm angry. No one wants to do this right. No one will do it right because they don't want to do it right because they don't believe they should do it right. Whereas yours is everybody's got so much stuff going on. I know this needs to be done because the kids need it. I'm just going to do it because nobody else is going to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference.
Yeah. and that's empathy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. So, yes. Long story short is that these things are interesting. I hadn't taken this test before, so I think it's kind of insightful for me to think about. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't have called those weaknesses, but I guess they kind of are, and they're not helpful behaviors to have. So it helps me to kind of think about it. So that kind of wraps us up today, I think.
Yeah.
For our tests. Do you feel like this is something you'd recommend for other people to do overall? Which tests do you feel like are most helpful for you?
I think I'm biased.
You're going to pick yours?
I'm going to pick mine only because I'm biased. I actually don't think the Enneagram tests or the numerology or no, wait.
We didn't really talk about numerology today, but
I don't think the Enneagram test and the human design test are that off in what they said about me. But I think my logical brain still hasn't made the leap to like why those numbers would mean that for my personality. Whereas like...
Well, first you'd have to know how each planet interacts with you. So that's like
it's just a whole different... It's like a place my mind hasn't gone before. So...
I gotta give you my book on astrology.
So like you can tell me that that's why, but I can't see it yet. So I think...
But how wild, right? That you have the two tests that you took required us to answer like 40-ish questions. The learning, what is it called?
The leadership compass.
Thank you, leadership compass. And then the Enneagram test. The Enneagram test was pretty long. I can't remember. I think it was more than 40 questions. But the leadership compass test that I just took was 44 questions. And that's interesting to me that it took all of that for them to decide who you are. And these other two tests only know your birthday and what time you're born. And what location you were when you were born.
Yeah.
All the information that they have about you to create this whole thing about who you are.
I'd be interested in seeing a larger sample size of people take it and see like what the alignment looks like.
Okay, so challenge. I need all of my people who are really into astrology, or maybe you don't even have to be. How about this? All my people who are not, because usually you guys are the ones who are super anti. So everybody who's not into astrology, forget it. Everybody. Take this test, or it's not even a test. All you need to do is look at your birth certificate, find out what time you were born, and then put it into like any type of natal chart or birth chart, or you can go to the Human Design website and do that one, and it's the same thing. And then let us know if the results are accurate for you or not, when that's all the information that they have. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who believe in it, so I don't think it's for no reason.
Oh yeah, my doubt is not in other people or even in the system itself. It's that I simply have not taken the time to try to understand it. That's solely it.
Logic, guys. You see, even her results are messing up her ability to believe in her results.
What?
All right. But yeah, I think that concludes our episode today. I think we're gonna have some stuff about these tests on our Instagram, and I hope that you guys take them and share with us in the community share with us your results and let us know what you think, and help my sister to become a believer.
So let's have a quick declassified moment here, because we went through a lot of stuff, and it's valuable, but I think it's important for us to name that these are all just tools.
Yes, they're not the end all be all. I don't want you to think like one result is better than the other. This is just something for you to take with a grain of salt, but also learn about yourself in a way that maybe you haven't before. I'm sure we've all done some type of personality test, but I think doing various different ones helps you to get a good insight into yourself because of the way in which you answer questions, or for the ones with your birth charts, it's just giving you more of an understanding of maybe the reason God put you here, right? I know that astrology and God don't always go together, but I think that there's something to be said about the time in which you chose to be here, or the time in which you want to say God chose for you to be here, and why that might be relevant to your purpose on the planet. So consider it.
Yeah. And I think to close, as far as us and this podcast, this was just a great moment for us to learn a little bit more about each other. I didn't know about how you show up at work. You had spoken about it before, but to know that you're a South and like being able to speak the same language and put that into context, I'm kind of surprised. But I think it's cool to do stuff like this with people in your life so that you can learn how to interact with each other in ways that are more productive and meaningful.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much more to say, but I agree.
All right. So that wraps up today's episode. Thanks, y'all, so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.